Hello and welcome to the South Carolina Lead. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on September 15th, 2022, from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. Just so you know, some information in this podcast may have changed by the time you've heard it. It's still honeymoon week here on the Lead, but we're committed to bringing you content that matters. Included in this episode is an extended conversation from my interview with Sara Goldsby, Director of the South Carolina Department of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Services, known as DAODAS. We spoke on September 14th on This Week in South Carolina, and stick around after our interview for our big wind-down section in this episode as well. Got a little treat for you down there. Sara started off our interview by talking about the current opioid crisis facing the state and the spike in overdose deaths, as well as the more than $360 million coming to the state over the coming years to combat the problem. Take a listen.
So we're still leaning on the 2020 drug overdose death data, eagerly awaiting, anticipating the 2021 overdose death data as it gets finalized by DHEC and the CDC. What we saw in 2020 was just a dramatic increase nationwide, really, and that includes our state. What we saw was about a 52% increase in drug overdoses for the state between 2019 and 2020. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we had anticipated some of that, because we knew that, the isolation and the conditions of the pandemic would lead to more drug use. But I think what we recognize now is that simultaneously the black market for drugs, the illicit drug market in the United States and in our state too, shifted dramatically in that year from 2019 to 2020 in ways that we couldn't have anticipated, with the introduction of fentanyl, very potent fentanyl in the opioid products that were coming into the United States, but also in non-opioid products, including, stimulants, the cocaine and the methamphetamine that we see now. Almost all of it is laced with fentanyl, the drug that's causing most of the overdoses.
And yeah, I think it's some 4,000 South Carolinians have died over the past 3 years. Is that about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think we're looking around 1,500 to 1,700 a year. Just, folks in our neighborhoods, people we know, and the demographics even shifting slightly as we monitor this week to week with our partners on the Opioid Emergency Response Team. We're noticing shifts in the African American communities in South Carolina now, climbing with overdose incidents. Where other states had seen this before. So we're monitoring that closely and trying to get the word out to particular demographics and populations, because what we think and expect is that certain drug markets, like I said, are being, infiltrated by this deadly fentanyl.
And Sara, your agency has a pretty broad mandate when it comes to dealing with a lot of these issues that folks deal with, unfortunately. Can you tell us, we hear about opioids, and those unfortunately get a lot of the headlines, and because it is just such a massive issue, but what about other substance abuse issues that your agency is dealing with and combating?
Yeah, well, Gavin, I know we've talked since, the start of the pandemic, but I think even before isolation measures went in place, we were worried that when they did, folks would turn to alcohol and drugs to cope with, the things that we were experiencing at the time. And some national surveys that occurred in, the spring of 2020 showed us that people were experiencing worry and sadness and fear and loneliness. Those things are all experiences that cause people, that trigger people to cope with substances like alcohol and drugs. So we were very worried at the time about alcohol in particular, and monitored, social media. We saw a lot of social media memes supporting more alcohol use and alcohol use at earlier hours during the pandemic as a means to cope with this isolation, stress of working from home and homeschooling. I don't know that we can honestly say we've seen the impact of what may have shifted during the pandemic in terms of folks needing treatment, seeking treatment, but we know that there's been an overall rise in drinking in the citizens in our state. Another indicator of this is with an analysis of the South Carolina alcohol liquor tax revenue, which shows significant increases in tax revenue from alcohol sales in our state over these past couple years. And it's just one more indication that the amount of South Carolinians are drinking has risen significantly. And so just, this warrants our attention. And I think, our messaging has been to take a pause, consider, your own personal relationship with alcohol, and putting things on our website like the alcohol use self-test, 10 questions that anyone can just ask themselves to really see if their drinking poses a risk to dependency and addiction.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely a good self-check right there, and red flags that you're seeing in terms of consumption rates and abuse, unfortunately, as a result of the pandemic. So many things we've seen come out of the pandemic. But one of those we're just talking about opioids, of course, and one of the big settlements we saw was, I guess, $26 billion. It was a big settlement with 3 of the nation's top pharmaceutical wholesalers, as well as Johnson & Johnson. That's a nationwide settlement. South Carolina is getting about $360 million over the next 18 years. Tell us where this money is going to go, this $360 million over the next 18 years, Sara, and how we're going to hopefully fix some of these problems.
First, Gavin, we really have to thank our community leadership and the leadership of the South Carolina Attorney General, who spearheaded this litigation on behalf of the state. The South Carolina Opioid Settlement Allocation Agreement, which folks can find online at the National Opioid Settlement website, really outlines how that money is going to be spent, with the guaranteed political subdivision fund and the proportions of that money that will go directly to the municipalities and the counties around our state who participated in the litigation. And then, in the spring, the General Assembly created the South Carolina Opioid Recovery Fund Board, with 9 appointed members, and this was possible with the South Carolina Opioid Recovery Act. Those 9 members will really administer and disperse the South Carolina Opioid Recovery Fund in accordance with the terms of that settlement agreement to make other funds widely available for discretionary grant applications. Mm-hmm.
And really just to get that money out to these localities, these smaller places, to really just try and get some best practices there to help fight this crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the settlement really outlines what the agreement refers to as approved uses and core strategies. And so the money can really only be used for those evidence-based practices, or what clinical expertise and systematic research have evidenced to, support outcomes. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important and really a highlight of this broad sweeping national litigation, because we've seen with settlements in the past, funds coming back to the state that have wide opportunity for multiple uses that don't necessarily go to remediation or abatement of the problem. And so we were excited in June. We partnered with the South Carolina Institute of Medicine and Public Health and pulled together some subject matter experts from the universities in our state, Clemson, DHEC, the University of South Carolina, MUSC, to really contribute more content to the list of those core strategies and approved uses, in hopes that the decision makers at the local level will find this as a resource, really outlining the strategies, but with richer context and a connection to the national guidance that we have. The message being, with all of this, we know what works. Mm-hmm. There's no need to invent anything new to address the opioid crisis. It's really just about scaling the best practices and spreading the best practices.
And Sara, how does this money, how does that supplement what's already been put in the state budget? Are you guys getting more money from state lawmakers, even as we see these opioid deaths skyrocket?
So the majority, I think, of the relief so far to the state to address the opioid crisis has come from Congress and federal appropriations, as Congress has made, really states a priority and a leader in addressing the crisis. So we've had several packages appropriated and authorized by Congress that have come to the state by way of the State Targeted Response Grant and the State Opioid Response Grant. And so we're in the third wave of those, and those have, averaged, between $16 and $23 million a year in 2-year, grants. The importance of that can't be understated, because it's really built the infrastructure for the programs and services that we currently have to address prevention, intervention, treatment, and recovery. The Department of Health and Environmental Control has also been awarded funds by the CDC to address certain aspects of the crisis. And when we tie all these things together, we've really done a lot of groundwork in the state to address the crisis. The money that will come from the settlement funds can build on that. Mm-hmm. And I think if we align all of these strategies and fill the gaps geographically in our state where we know we need that scalability and the spread of best practices, this money will go a long way to shore up services and do prevention work for a number of years.
But really quick, Sara, I know there's a lot more to talk about, but we got to wrap up. Just tell me how folks can get resources if they are going through crisis, if they're in recovery, how people can get educated to know some of the warning signs or just to deal with opioids in general in the state.
Yeah, the best website for opioids information is still the justplainkillers.com website. We have new information on there now about the risks and dangers of fentanyl, and also all of the places in the state where naloxone, the opioid overdose antidote, is available, where treatment and recovery services are available. For anyone looking for, recovery or treatment support or information on any other substance use, we've got a couple sites. Of course, the EmbraceRecoverySC.com website talks about the nearly 500,000 South Carolinians in recovery, more and more every day, and where mutual support and treatment can be found around the state. And then the deodas.sc.gov website, of course, the alcohol use self-test that we talked about there, and all the resources that we have.
Well, thank you so much. That's Sara Goldsby. She's the director at Deodas. Thanks, Sara. You can find that interview and more on youtube.com/South Carolina ETV. Welcome to our wind down section, our little break from the news. We talk about life during the pandemic, and we want to hear your stories as well. In fact, we're going to hear multiple stories in this wind down, folks.
Oh, yeah. This is a voicemail-a-palooza, right?
They may have noticed that there's plenty of time still left on that podcast app there on their iPhones.
This is early.
Android phones.
This is early.
We got a lot to talk about, so without further ado, A.T.
Ask.
Let's kick it off.
Okay.
With this quad dip.
Sure. Oh, yeah, we're doing a quad dip. Okay.
Never heard of quad dip.
Oh, this is truly unheard of.
There's no chip left. I'm just dipping fingers now.
I think you get this sort of stuff around Christmas and maybe one other time of year, okay? So this is a treat. So the reason we're doing this, it's not that I don't care, and I'm just trying to slam these voicemails in here. It's that they are pertinent to things we're talking about. So I don't want to go on vacation and forget about
Leave
these.
the stove on.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Leave the hairdryer going the whole time.
We're not trying to burn down this house. With that in mind, okay? Gavin, are you ready?
Oh, my God. Hold on. My hairdryer's still on from this morning.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. No, cut. I'll do it later. But, yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
Here's our first dip of the quad dip.
Of the quad chip. More of a cracker, probably.
One. Hello. My name's Robert Kelly. I'm a sustaining member of South Carolina ETV and have left you something in the legacy of my will. I have a comment I'd like to make about politics. I understand people support different candidates. People believe some policies and goals are better than others, and they support the candidate who agrees with them. What I do not understand is the vitriol against people who are working to deliver on their beliefs and promises, not to further their personal agenda. For example, I do not understand the Let's Go Brandon crowd who chanted that Biden was an atrocious president, not simply a president who was elected on a platform of goals that may be different from what the MAGA crowd wants. Job creation. Jobs have been up for every month of Biden's presidency. International alliances. We have stable international presence and respect. The Afghanistan war, this foolish war, is over. American soldiers came home. Inflation. This is driven by international oil prices and international trade. USA has lower inflation than the rest of the world, and in fact, the dollar is valued higher than the euro for the first time ever, and at the best rate ever with respect to the English pound. Why the hatred? Thank you again.
Robert Kelly, a sustaining star. Thank you for your support.
Now a podcast star.
I'm going to go ahead and say that if you're an ETV endowment member, you will get priority status during the wind down.
You get in a separate line that you get to cut everybody else.
Yeah, it's like Disney World here.
There's actually a secret phone number.
No, I'm not going to check any lists, but I'm just going to assume, of course, we love our sustaining stars. We love all of our supporters here at ETV. But yeah, Robert, that's just the politics of outrage and rhetoric these days, right? The race to the bottom. There is no bottom. We keep thinking we're going to reach a bottom, and next thing happens.
I know. Do you remember when they go low, we go high? No. Now it truly is that race to the bottom. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad, Robert. I'm glad you called us, and I hope that means that you don't think we do those things.
No, I think we're a refuge. That's what I try to be. And I would also recommend a book that I have not read yet, because I have a lot of those situations, a lot of books that I haven't read.
Namely Dune.
But it's called The Politics of Rage by Dan Carter. And I think that we can, it's from the 90s, but it's still
The 90s.
That's
90s
where things
hot
are
right
rooted.
now.
Yeah, I mean, a
90s
lot
are
of that's
hot.
rooted in the 90s.
Very much so, though. Truly, the early
Tucked,
90s
yeah.
is where this all sort of began.
So, but yeah, that's just the day and age, and we're trying to combat it our way by just giving you the news, folks.
Being dumb on a podcast. So anyway, Gavin, thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. Love that first time caller energy right there too. He came with it all planned out.
Yes.
Nailed it. Truly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gavin, are you ready for this second dip?
Do we have a crunch sound effect?
I'll find one.
Like the lollipop, the
The owl.
1, 2, 3. Crunch, crunch. 3. Just play that clip over and over again. Oh yeah, let's take a to who.
Okay, Gavin. So are you ready?
Yeah,
Right here.
I just said to.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can grab that. Sure. Okay. Here we go.
Let's do that.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Lee. Talk about rage, Robert.
Here we go.
Hey, this is Michelle from Greenville, South Carolina. I was lying in bed listening to the South Carolina Lead, and I started laughing when you guys were talking about the people putting out the fall pumpkin stuff. I actually do have a tin orange pumpkin hanging on my front door, and it's been there since August because I'm ready for freaking cooler weather. It's been extremely hot in Greenville, and I know it's been worse in Columbia. I'm also wanting to call because I'm in orange hell in Greenville. There's very rarely another Gamecocks fan here, and certainly none on the news up here. They cover the Clemson football games, and anytime there's anything to do with Clemson, and you might get a little blip about South Carolina Gamecocks. Anyway, I miss not living in Columbia because it's so hot as bleep there. But like to hear the news, and thanks for the update on the women's health care going on in our House of Representatives. Extremely not happy with what's going on there, but keeping us updated. A lot of people don't know what's being done, and they need to know that, and we appreciate your news. Anyway, yes, Gavin, but I got my tin pumpkin hanging on the front door from TJ Maxx, not Holly Hobby. Thank you. You guys have a good day.
Hey there, Michelle from #YeahThatGreenville. Spook sister right there talking about that pumpkin.
She's ready.
She's ready. I mean, I get you. I love the cooler weather too. I've been getting in the mornings. It's nice in the mornings. But then the thing that gets me about fall, which I love, is that right after Halloween, it's like holiday season. Really, it starts getting really colder, darker, and I don't like that part. I like the September, October, I like the little bumpers, but that November, December, January, February.
Yeah, tough stuff.
Dark in the mornings, going to the gym because I work out.
Brag.
And it's just cold. I mean, it was a little chilly this week. I had a sweatshirt on. I was like,
Stop. It's not sweatshirt weather.
oh, it was at 5:30 in the morning, my friend.
Another brag. But
Gotta get it in early.
I truly am. My favorite part about fall, besides football, is
You can't spell football without fall.
exactly right.
No one ever talks about that.
No one has ever brought that up. I think we just thought that. This is a verbal trademark, FYI. But I truly love weather where I can wear long pants and a t-shirt or a sweatshirt and shorts.
Yes.
You know, like that is primo weather.
This is the fashion, the function, the talk that people want to hear.
Thank you. Yes.
Sweatshirt and shorts,
What's better?
long sleeve, and pants.
And pants. Short sleeve and pants.
Short sleeve and pants? Am I saying this right?
You have. Am I getting this
getting
right?
this right?
Am I
Okay.
reading this correctly?
Okay, short, but not short sleeve shorts.
No. Short sleeve.
Okay, bad.
Short sleeve shorts. I have 4 sleeves on at any time, on my arms and 2 on my legs. And also, Michelle,
The heat that radiates off of it cannot be underestimated, folks.
it's just a lot of sleeves. It's a
just
lot of
the
sleeves.
sweat.
I'm not a sweater. Anyway,
brag.
that is a brag. Michelle, I also have to say, TJ Maxx's, they really stress me out. You've never been in an organized TJ Maxx.
Or Marshalls.
You're walking down an aisle, and there are pots and pans on top of purses on the floor, you know? And
And then you're like, whose kid is this?
and people are like,
There's a
I
child
love
right
that
here.
place. I can't get it.
Mom
can't
is
get into
too
it.
busy looking for 60% off.
The deals. Are you seeing the deals?
I think I've talked about this, my childhood trauma before.
Let's bring it up again. Let's bring it up again.
Shopping at Ross with my
Ross.
father, the original owner of this podcast. And I I like shopping. It's fine, whatever. I don't need that many things. Who needs stuff anymore, right? Like, how much stuff do you need?
You're a real minimalist.
Oh, so minimalist.
Yeah.
But Jay Jackson does do some shopping now because that's just what you do when you're retired, and he loves going to Marshalls. But when I was a kid, we'd go to Ross, and I'm like, get those shoes. Let's go. Why are we still here? Like it would just get me. That man can't pass up a deal for his life.
I see where the evolution of your attitude towards food as just being food. Shoes are just shoes.
Shoes.
I'm learning right here, Gavin.
That man buys more shoes than any man you know.
Every time I see you in new shoes, I'm like, oh, you got new shoes. And you go, I just took these from my dad.
Or he gives them to me. That's the best part, is that we're the same size.
Yeah, that's a real win.
Yeah. It was engineered that way.
Gavin, let's keep this party going, okay? 3. Okay. Here is another call. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're ready.
Fall.
Okay. Here we go if you're ready.
Fall weather.
Hey, Gavin and AT, this is Victoria from Northeast Columbia. Just leaving a message regarding your podcast on Saturday and the quotes from Sandy Sin, that our local newscast didn't have all of her comments, just part of it. But I appreciate you guys giving us all the facts, all the information. So I just wanted to let you know. And also, happy 50th anniversary for the South Carolina Public Radio. Do appreciate public radio and public television. It's great. And you guys are too. Have a great early fall and into the winter. Take care. Bye.
Victoria, so great to hear from you again.
We missed you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thanks for bringing up the benefits and magic of the podcast.
Yes.
We got the time to give you the full clips, so that's what I do. I said, get more informed.
That's what I do.
Even some podcasts, too, still don't give you these long clips. And I know sometimes we might lose people, or that's always the fear that you might lose someone with like such a long clip. But I think for some of these, I'm finding them interesting. I assume some of our listeners, if you're interested in news,
we're giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
here,
I want you to be smarter. And, even newspaper articles, you only have so many inches, too. And even online, people don't want to go too far into it.
Magic
but I think
of pods.
listening, you're driving, you're listening, I mean, that's the magic of it all.
And what Victoria said there is, I heard that from a lot of people who listened to that episode, too. They were all like, I didn't hear all those things, and they all would have liked to. So, Victoria, thank you for calling. I know that Gavin does not appreciate, though, that you're already hitting winter in this.
Okay. People can talk about the seasons they like, and I'll talk about the seasons I like. We're all different people here.
He wins, though.
However, everyone's allowed to have an opinion, even if it's different.
Wrong. Wrong.
No, I don't want to dissuade anyone from calling in and expressing their love for summer or spring.
Oh, I'm just realizing now
The only two seasons.
that I forgot
To hit record.
talk about
Oh, God.
to talk about the Gamecocks for Michelle.
You can still talk about them.
I'm hitting it here. So I'm sorry I forgot about that. Yes, Clemson. Forget about him. Old hat. Got no quarterback this year.
Boom.
Okay?
Look at this fire.
We got the Ratlush. And I think he might be a little bit too good for our team right now.
Oof.
So I feel
Spit in the
bad.
fire.
Yeah, our O-line is very bad and we can't tackle. So I'm sorry that the only time you get to hear about the Gamecocks is that they stink.
Stay strong, Michelle. You're a Gamecock up there in Tiger Country.
Real tough. Anyway, Gavin, the piece de resistance.
I don't think I can eat anymore.
One more dip. A fourth course. A fourth course. Okay.
Not room on this chip to dip any more dip.
This is a new listener, a new caller calling in, really addressing the real issues.
I have room for this one more dip.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. How would the owl say 4?
A 4.
Anyway, Gavin, here we go, okay?
I hope people know what we're talking about.
Number 4.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Anthony from Charleston. I've been listening to the podcast for about 2 months, and I think it's great, very informative, and you guys are hilarious. I love the wind-down section at the end. So I was calling about the hot dog and condiment conversations that have been going on over the past couple weeks to add my take. So for anyone who was at Clemson around 2004 to 2007 will remember that there was a awesome hot dog stand downtown called Dank Dogs. It was started by 2 of my stoner fraternity brothers while we were there. and it was definitely the best place to get a hot dog downtown. When the bars were closing, there was always a line around the building for it. So the best thing was a fully loaded hot dog with chili, cheese, Fritos, and a little bit of mustard. So load up the dogs and go Tigers.
Anthony from Charleston, thanks for calling and for listening to the pod. 2 months. Welcome. Yes, you definitely need that late night food spot. We all can relate to that. But I feel like what he was describing, while it did sound incredible, the fully loaded chili cheese Fritos, I love that.
The Frito is the Frito.
But what I'm saying here is it sounds awesome, but in that state of mind, for me, I get spots on myself in the best, when I'm just having a good day. Mm-hmm. I would wake up the next day and you'd be like, oh no, what is all this?
Yeah, I'm a big...
What is this hot dog mess on me?
If I have a white shirt on, I am spilling on that shirt.
I've never seen you wear a white shirt.
I have very few white shirts. I'm a big black shirt, heavy metal guy. Yeah, that's psychotic.
Do you see this, folks? Do you see the yin and the yang?
One time we had a photo shoot for the podcast and I wore a blue-collared shirt. And Gavin, the face he gave me and said, I'm the blue shirt guy.
What are you doing? Take it off. One of us has to change.
Anyway, Anthony, I consider myself quite a chili dog connoisseur.
His eyes are closed right now.
If ever you're in the Columbia area and you want to get a good dog, you let me know. I know where it is. Me and the Russ McKinney, we really go out and we find these places. So
you're not going to tell him?
It's a secret. You gotta come with me.
There's a handshake.
There, I do.
Phone number.
I would also like to point out
Can't go on Tuesdays.
There was no ketchup on that hot dog that he mentioned.
That's fine. If that's what it is, you were talking about no ketchup writ large.
Yeah, I do. I still feel that way.
If that's for a specific dog, that's fine. But I'm not going to go insane.
But Anthony, I need you scouting good chili dog places in Charleston right now. Charleston has gotten a little highfalutin with their food choices.
Oh.
And so the everyman chili dog, I feel, is getting lost in the fervor of the Charleston food scene.
I want a shrimp and grits hot dog.
Ooh, no, dude.
A little surf and turf.
The last thing I ever thought I wanted on a hot dog is seafood.
Now, just throwing it out there now.
Ugh.
Someone's got to be doing it in Charleston. If they're not,
you're welcome. I'm not. You're welcome.
You're welcome. No, I would put no mustard. I would put no. I don't know. What'd you top with that?
You would
Cocktail
have to put.
sauce?
You'd have to put tasso ham gravy on there.
Cheese.
I do not like frankenfoods like that. Like two food. Oh, you like this? You like this?
Yeah,
well, how about we put this on
the donut
it?
burger.
Yeah, I hate a donut burger.
Remember when I had it at the fair? That was the worst thing I've ever had.
Yeah, I hate.
I could make a better one myself.
I hate a hamburger with mac and cheese on the top of it.
Oh, come on. That's your anti-cheese.
No,
your lactose intolerance coming out.
If you had macaroni, if you had mac and cheese on the side of a burger, I've got no issues. It's slamming it on top of it.
I told you when I went to Cheesecake Factory. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
A little place called Cheesecake Factory.
The menu is 27 pages. When I went with my mom, because we were shopping during Christmas, that's a fun thing about Christmas. We were shopping at the mall, and
the best part about winter is going to Cheesecake Factory.
So we always go to Cheesecake Factory. But I said, they have the calories on there, so you're really aware of how bad all this is.
There's a stick of butter and everything.
And so I said, give me the craziest thing. Give me that burger with all that mac and cheese on there. And my God, that is just not good for anybody.
No, that's disgusting.
But I would do a more refined version of that.
My favorite part about Cheesecake Factory, and you can look this up online, is that the lighting fixtures on the side, they look like the Eye of Sauron. Okay, at the top of the Tower of Barad-dûr. Okay,
Cheesecake Factory defined an entire generation of kitchen decor and styling.
Google it. Cheesecake Factory,
they have not
Eye of
changed since
Sauron.
then. If you want to feel like you've ever been to the 90s, go to Cheesecake Factory.
It's got a little bit of every kind. It's got Art Deco. It's got mid-century modern. It's got
90s modern.
Rococo. It's got it all, okay?
Neoclassical.
Anyway, everyone listening.
Wow, what a big wind down.
I appreciate what you all allowed me to do. Go on a trip without bringing my podcasting stuff, because if I had brought it, my wife would have killed me.
Yeah, you would have been divorced.
Yep, and I never would have been
honeymoon divorce.
Yep. So thank you so much, Gavin. Say goodbye to them. The next pod you hear will be regular, I promise.
We'll be there for your next pod, guaranteed.
Or your money back.
or your money back, which only applies to Robert Kelly since he's the only sustaining star that's called. No, just kidding there, folks. But yes, thanks for listening to the pod, and show us your appreciation by leaving us a review or a voicemail like Robert, Michelle, Victoria, and Anthony did, calling 803-563-7169. And you can stay up to date with the latest news on scetv.org and southcarolinapublicradio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. For the South Carolina Lead, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina. It's not summertime, baby.
You think I take vacations?
Swisk owns my body.